Hi, welcome to Nina in the Kitchen, where today I'm going to make a biscotti that's perfect for the holidays because it's got red cranberries in it and also green pistachio. And the flavor combination is so delicious. First, let me show you a couple of tips. One is that this is just flour, but you see it comes out lumpy. So instead of sifting the flour, all that you need to do is take a little whisk and just whisk it up. That takes just a couple of seconds. It aerates it, it gets all of the lumps out. And then that way, you don't have to clean a sifter. The other thing is, when you're chopping nuts, now you can use a food processor, but you just want a rough chop on this. You want some of these to remain whole, mostly whole. Here's some that I've already done. You can see they're all different textures. Some of these pieces are big, some are very fine. And the way to do that is, the best way I've found anyway, is to create a channel with two knives that are a similar size. And very carefully, you just go over these pistachios. And this channel keeps them from flying around the room. Because if you've ever chopped nuts with a single blade, you know what I'm talking about. So that was a quick job. And you can see that keeps it very neat. That's called a rough chop, by the way, when you have some pieces that are bigger than smaller. And I did a similar thing on the cranberries. So some of the cranberry pieces are fine and some are larger. If you don't want to use cranberries for this, you can use cherries. The first thing we're going to do is cream the butter and the sugar together. And the reason for doing this is to cause little micro air pockets in the butter. And what that does is it gives you a better bake because all of that air that you've whipped into the butter is going to protect it. So it won't just flat melt in the oven and give you a flat, yucky looking cookie. It'll actually keep some body going for you. So that was 1/2 cup of butter, 8 tablespoons, 1 whole stick, 112 grams. That's all, every way I know how to say that. And 3/4 of a cup of sugar go in. That's 135 grams. And I'm going to do the salt in here as well. It's just 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. This gets beaten on a medium-high speed for about 4 minutes. You want to scrape the bowl down about every 1 minute or so, and you'll know that your butter is creamed when it looks like this. It'll be light and fluffy and a light lemon yellow color, like a lemon chiffon. I'd also like to mention that all of these ingredients are at room temperature, and that also gives you a better bake. Now we're going to incorporate the eggs. This is a great way if you just want to keep an egg off to the side and you don't want it to roll off the counter. You just kind of tap the bottom of it and it'll just sit right there for you. I'm going to crack an egg into these little bowls just to make sure I'm not getting any shell. Look at that, I did get shell. So then here's another great tip. You just take your eggshell and use it like a magnet. You take the little shell out and put that right back in, put the egg white back in. So you just incorporate 2 eggs, one at a time. The next thing I'm doing is I'm just going to blend 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder in with 2 cups of flour. So that's 260 grams of flour. You can actually do this next part by hand if you like, because all that you're going to do is stir this flour in there. And along with that, let's do some flavoring. You can use 1/2 teaspoon of lemon flavoring, lemon extract. What I'm using is this lemon oil. If you've never tried an oil, they are very highly concentrated and they give an incredible flavor. 3, 4, 5, I'll go with 6. And this just gets stirred together. Next I'm going to add the cranberries and the pistachios. This is 3/4 of a cup of pistachios, which is 118 grams. This is 2/3 of a cup of cranberries, which is 100 grams. And again, those are both chopped, just roughly chopped. And these just get mixed in. I have a pan that I've prepped with a silicone mat. but you can also just use a cooking spray. I'm going to shape this into a 13-inch log, and you want it about 3 inches across. So that would be 33 centimeters by 8 centimeters. Okay, and that's it. I have flour off to the side in case it was too sticky to work with, but that was perfect. This goes into the oven for about 40 minutes. You'll know it's ready to come out of the oven when there's a crack down the middle. Biscotti translates by, so two. So biscotti, 2 cooks. So what you're going to do is bake it once. We let it cool for a little bit and then slice it and bake it a second time to let it toast. And this is one of the simplest cookies I know to make, and it goes together in a snap. So I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'll see you in 40 minutes. Well, this was in the oven for exactly 40 minutes. And as you can see, there are cracks, these little fissures all along the top. And it's cooled for about 10-15 minutes. What I'm going to do is just very carefully put it on a cutting board. And you want to cut these pieces about 3/8 of an inch in thickness. And I do it on a slight angle like this. That's about 1/2 centimeter thick. Also, the oven has been turned down to 325, which is 160 Celsius. And this is why you want to cool this. You see, it wants to crumble away, so you need it cool enough so that it'll hold any of these little crumbles that fall away. That's what I call the cook's treat. When you put these back on the cookie sheet, just be careful because they are still fragile, and you just line them up, give them about a 1/2 inch spacing in between. These go back into the oven for about 14 minutes. You want them crispy, and halfway through that bake, you can flip these because you just have to toast them on either side. Now, I do one sheet like this, and as you can see, all of these cookies are not going to fit back on this one sheet. So you can put 2 sheets in there, and again, flip them halfway through, or what I do is I will put this sheet on the bottom rack that's in the oven, and then on the one above that, I put an oven-proof grate. It fits into my oven, and I put the other cookies on here, so the fan that's in there, the convection heat, allows this to bake and toast on both sides at the same time, and they come out in about 8 minutes. So either or, whatever suits you. So these are going into the oven. These will be flipped. These go on the bottom of the oven. This is going in one of the upper racks for 7 minutes and flip, 8 minutes, and we're done. Well, some of these have cooled. Everything's out of the oven now. And as you can see, they just start to look toasty. They're not browned really, but they will crisp up as they cool. I just wanted to give you a few tips. When you bring cookies out of the oven, and these are no different, let them sit on the sheet pan for a few minutes because they are still cooking, and especially these where you want them toasted. After a couple of minutes, you can just move them right onto the cooling rack. The other thing is all of these little crumbs, when you make biscotti, save those crumbs. They're delicious on top of ice cream, pudding. You can sprinkle it over frosting or the filling of a cake. They're delicious, so don't throw those away. The other thing I didn't mention that I meant to is I used a serrated knife to cut those. That's the best tool to use. The serration really helps keep everything together and makes fewer crumbs for you. And then finally, what I'm doing, and this is totally up to you, it's optional, but because it's the holidays, what I'm doing is I'm going to dip each of these into some white chocolate. White chocolate, I can't tell you how many times I've had white chocolate seize up on me, and here's what I've learned. You have to use a good quality white chocolate. So you just take these, put a little chocolate over them, and just put them back on the rack to cool. What I did to melt my chocolate is I put it in the microwave at half power, and after about 30 seconds, every 30 seconds, I go in and stir it just to make sure that it's not seizing up. The sugars that are out nowadays are just so fun. So there you have it. There's your holiday biscotti. I hope you try these cookies. They're really delicious. And with the white chocolate, as I said, you're just gilding the lily. You don't have to go there, but it's an easy decoration. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you come back to see more stuff. Bye, guys.